Hello and welcome to this spotlight interview where we are going to be highlighting Tony Petrella. He is a ClaimTek licensee who's been with us a little bit over a year. He is the owner and CEO of RCM Medical Billing Solutions in Greenwich, Connecticut, just north of the New York State border. And his website address is www.rcmmedicalbillingsolutions.com. Welcome, Tony. Great to have you on the call here today.
Nice to be here.
All right. So these videos that we make are really just to provide feedback to individuals in the industry looking at getting started in this business, but also to highlight, individuals like yourself, Tony, who really took this ball and ran with it and were able to build a, successful business for themselves, to kind of hear your feedback and, how it went for you as you start and built your business. So to kind of start out with, what did you do previously? What spurred you towards, maybe starting your own business?
Okay, so I had a nice, I was a VP finance in a large company.
Okay.
And I was there for 25 years. And it was a long time, and it was not so big that there was a lot of room for growth. The only place I could have gone where I would have been the CFO, and he wasn't going anywhere. So, I just got a little bored. I could do my job with my eyes closed, going to the coffee room, and staring out the window and seeing the same thing, day in, day out. There's no way that I was going to do that for the rest of my life. So, so I wanted to do something different. Now, what happened to me, this is interesting, because what I did is I tried to get a CFO job. And I had a great deal of difficulty doing it. I am, to be frank with everyone here, I am I was 62 at the time. And I thought to myself, well, my age doesn't make a difference. My age is, it shows that I got experience. But I saw that as a bit of an obstacle, because, and in hiring people myself, I came across the same dilemma. If I saw someone who looked like they were older, I thought to myself, well, am I going to have to retrain this position, in the next couple of years? Right. Number one. Number two, is this guy, going to, want to tell me what to do? Then is he going to get sick? There's a million reasons, a million considerations that you need to take into account when you hire somebody of my age, right? So it was about a year and a quarter, and I didn't find anything. But during that time period, I was approached by a company called Second Life Careers. And I know this is going to sound a little bit like a plug, but it's important that I talk about this.
Yeah,
absolutely. About maybe 6 months into my job search, and I told her, no, I'm not going to give up. I'll let you know when I'm ready to give up. Mm-hmm. And, she kept at me, and she was very professional about what she did. She interviewed me for a long time, and she tried to align my background with various different, alternatives, including ClaimTek. And so she did not appear to me to be that kind of a company that was just looking for somebody to invest capital somewhere. Right? And there are a lot of, questionable, businesses that are trying to do that, right? They are, admittedly. I heard of a story myself where somebody invested $200,000 and the guy walked away with it. So you have to be very careful when you do this. But she demonstrated a level of effort and accuracy in asking me questions and pointing out, different investments. And so I went back to her after that year and a quarter, and I said to her, okay, I'm interested now, right? And I'm interested in ClaimTek because of all the different alternatives. That one aligned with my background the most. Mm-hmm. I have with a finance background, right? I understand accounts receivable, and essentially this business is about accounts receivable. Mm-hmm. So, and I understand that, in order for a business to do well, the faster you turn that accounts receivable, the higher your return on investment is. That's a very simple concept for me. been
Yeah.
drilled into my head over the many years that I was a VP of finance. So that's why I went with ClaimTek.
Yeah, very good. I know that, you and I started talking even in that, beginning stages of, the evaluation of the business. And, we spent, a few weeks, if not a couple months, going through, the back and forth, helping you to understand more of what this business would bring for you. And it was definitely a leap into a new area. But like you said, it had some commonalities with what you did in the past. So it meshed real well. I think that works well for a lot of different people, because other people are, maybe on the other side of that. You were more in the finance, accounts receivable, managing those books. Whereas other people, they might come in and they have that sales marketing background and that's their forte. That you can always hire in this business as well. So, when that time comes, you can always expand, but, having a little bit of a background in something similar is going to help you, of course, with anything that you do. But, as you went through ClaimTek's training, not having any of the medical dental billing experience, how do you feel that training prepared you for the operations of the business, but also, the marketing of the business and, getting out there to be able to find and acquire clients when, you've never had to go and do that necessarily before on the finance side of things?
Yeah. So Brian, when it comes down to it, medical billing is not rocket science. Okay. I mean, you got a top-notch piece of software here. You've been doing this for like 28 years, right? You got everything figured out. Okay. The reports, the things that you could do to simplify a process, all that stuff. I see that in MedOffice. So it's a really good piece of software. And, in the end, it's not rocket science.
Right.
Okay, you're going to enter the claim. You got to know the codes, right? You get help in knowing the codes because the doctors will tell you what the codes should be. They'll tell you what the diagnosis should be. I mean, it's their responsibility. I think that you can do some, you can help them a little bit in that regard, right? If you know something that they don't know.
Right. Or run a code review form or something to check those things out.
Exactly. But it's not rocket science. Yeah, I don't know if I fully answered that question.
Well, and that's okay. I mean, it just comes down to, let's take an example of, a time that you did go through, the billing process, but now let's say that you got a live claim and, something went, screwy with it, right? Did you feel like the support, to get that, claim fixed, to go over, what might have happened in those types of scenarios? Do you feel like that was always there for you? And what type of level of support did you feel like you had?
I mean, Brian, that was, it's undeniably perfect. Okay. That backup and support, undeniably perfect. Okay. The training, right, was, as I said, right, it's not rocket science. And so you can learn it in the time period that, you allow to us. Okay. Mm-hmm. The training that was even more important than the technical part of doing the claims was the marketing. Okay. Now, this is something that, I was not used to, right? As a VP finance, I know a little bit about marketing and I know what it costs and I know the return on investment when it comes to marketing. But that was something, that was eye-opening to me and I needed that. Mm-hmm. So, I have it hanging on my wall, the marketing checklist of things that you need to do. And there's like 8 different areas that you need to focus on. Most important thing is don't focus on any one particular, area. You need to do something in all the different areas. So that was really, really important. So then when I got out into the field, okay, to speak to what you said about the support, when I got out into the field, right, and I started looking for clients, I followed the scripts, right, and I had all my notes. But I was also able to call you, Brian, during that time period, right, and relate the different stories because this was something new to me, right, and I imagine it's going to be new to other people getting into the business here. I don't think they quite understand the nuances, or I didn't quite understand the nuances, at least, of like what it takes to have a good marketing program and to acquire customers. So that was important. Like there's ClaimTek provides you with 300, potential clients. I think it was 300, a list of 300. And I went through that list and then some. Mm-hmm. And in doing that, I did not get a single appointment.
Well, and that's why we say with, that, you got to look at those first 300 as an opportunity to practice, because as you went through it, I saw you getting better and improving, with your feedback that you were giving me. The conversation started to go a little bit deeper and a little bit deeper, and yes, and you got a little bit better each time, and that is part of the process. There is always going to be that learning curve, whether it's on the billing side or whether it's on the marketing side, there are going to be growing pains, but that's what being an entrepreneur does. It expands your comfort zone.
Yeah.
Right.
You have to do that. You have to make those phone calls. Even though they're like totally unproductive, you have to make those phone calls, because that's how you will learn how to deal with, the doctors. Mm-hmm. It's a bit of a different breed, right?
Right.
And they think differently than the people that, or the business people that I've dealt with, throughout my career. They think differently. And so it's a good exercise to make those phone calls, to find out what they're looking for, to find out what motivates them. And yeah, I mean, I will say this is that, in my prior life, right? I don't know if you're familiar with Stephen Covey's 4 quadrants, right? But one of the quadrants in the upper right, is strategic thinking and strategic action, right? These are the things that you do when, things are going okay, and you want them to continue to go okay, and you even want them to grow and become better. That's a good place to be in Stephen Covey's quadrant. Most of the people that I've got, right, as customers were in Stephen Covey's worst quadrant. It's like, urgent and important. Mm-hmm. Like important and not urgent is like strategic thinking. Urgent and important means that you have a fire you need to put out.
Right.
And so that's where, I was able to, apply, my personality, my background, if you've been at whatever career you've been at for a while, there's the skill set of solving problems, right, is an important one, right?
Absolutely.
And I would apply that, in my discussions with my prospective clients. Yeah, and so I did not find a lot of strategic thinkers out there. If it wasn't broke, they weren't going to fix it.
Yeah, some of the times, it's like, they'll wait until it's crunch time. They know they've needed to do it, but again, it just didn't get to the point of that sense of urgency. And then when it did, it's all like, hey, we're already behind. I need somebody to come in here and like help me yesterday. Right. And those types of opportunities. And to speak to that, I know that one of your clients, one of your big clients, you pretty much saved them from bankruptcy.
Oh my God.
So why don't you tell the team just a little bit about that scenario? Because that is just one that's just an incredible one to share. To be able to do that for a laboratory like you did is just incredible.
Yeah, that's an amazing story, actually. What happened is that these 2 guys were lab technicians, right? Not really business people. They kind of had an understanding of the business, and they were seasoned in their careers, but they mortgaged their homes and invested in lab equipment. And when they came to me, they had 8,000 claims outstanding, and that they hadn't processed. And they were living off of their the financing they got from their homes.
My goodness. So 8,000 claims. What was the value in that when you just started with?
Okay, so 8,000 claims is probably worth, let me think, about $700,000. Yeah. Let me think. No, it might have been. No, I'm sorry. That's not true. Looking back, those claims were probably worth close to $1 million.
Yeah. Yeah. If they were 125 a claim, right? Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah. So at first, this is interesting, right? At first, when I was dealing with him, I misread him. This is relevant. I misread him, right? I I didn't think he almost seemed like he was hiding something, like he was like, and he didn't trust me, and he was trying to take advantage of me, and like, and I think maybe that's a disadvantage of dealing with people virtually, okay, or even on the phone. I mean, it's important to see people's facial expression, right? You know, he's from another culture, in Middle Eastern, and I, you have to understand cultures too, right? You have to, you know, people from different cultures think differently than we do. So in the beginning, we didn't hit it off at all, and I thought that I lost it. Right, I thought that I lost this account, and I was actually kind of, you know, relieved that I had lost the account, because I was, you know, I didn't know whether, you know, this thing was going to work with this gentleman. But as it turned out, he, you know, he hit the go button, right? And I said, okay, great, okay, 8,000 claims, right? And so when he hit the go button, I set it up, you know, you know, I started collecting for him, and, you know, the relationship improved. You know, we had a face-to-face visit. You know, he's in Virginia, I'm in Connecticut, right? So I drove down there, and that was really important, right? You know, I think that one of the things I'm going to do is I'm going to try to make it a point, you know, to have a face-to-face visit with, you know, all of my clients, you know, no matter where they are, at least once a year.
Always nice. Get you traveling too. If you'd like, you know, to take a little vacay. Now it's a tax write-off, you know? Stop in and see those docs.
Yeah. It's a good investment. You know, you get a good return on that investment. So, I mean, to tell people where I ended up, I have collected over $5 million for this flab. Now, I don't know how much, you know, this is going to go on. He was doing a lot of testing for COVID,
right?
And you know, eventually, you know, that's going to dwindle down. I'm not sure whether, you know, I'll get the account on an ongoing basis. If I could, that would be great. Right. If not, you know, I've got enough capital from this particular client, you know, to do the right kind of marketing that I need to do.
Yeah.
Because, you know, you may get to it later on in one of your other questions, but marketing is going to be your biggest expense.
Right. You know, whether it's time or it's money, you know, marketing requires, you know, time or money. If you're not spending the time, you spend more money. If you're not spending the, you know, the money, then you're spending more time doing it. Right. But a little bit of both is really what gets you the best results. And that's, you know, so I know that was one of the things, you know, in marketing to find, you know, some of these clients then is to take advantage of some of the warm lead, you know, opportunities. So that way, rather than making all of those phone calls outbound, you know, now that you've had some practice, you know, you've kind of conditioned yourself into the way that conversation should flow, then you kind of opted in to start getting warm leads sent to you from doctors that were actually filling out the forms online. So you're able to follow up with them within, you know, 20, 30 minutes of them filling out that online form. And as you mentioned to me, that gave you a lot more, you know, engagements directly with those providers, right?
Yeah. I mean, I this is what I'm going to say. So the cold calls were really important in terms of training, because it hones your people skills and your salesmanship skills. Mm-hmm. Okay. But I invested probably $1,500 in a telemarketing company, and they did, where I did 600 calls, they did 2,000. My thought was that, well, I need more calls. If 600 didn't give me anything, right, maybe 2,000 will. I didn't get a single appointment from the telemarketing.
Yeah. Yeah. And the third party telemarketing can be really difficult because, you know, you're not managing, you know, they could be saying it, but sometimes it's also the way that you're saying it, and if somebody's real drab on the telephone and they have no energy, I mean, they're not going to generate that, that interest with the doctor as somebody that's calling, that's excited. It's their business. And like, hey, I've got resources that can help solve doctors' problems. You're just you bring that excitement into that call. It's like, hey, I just want to help. If you've got problems, I've got solutions. Let us know. When you can simplify it down to that, you can get better results with making those calls. But if you're just paying somebody else to make those calls, they don't have that enthusiasm that you could have as it's your business either.
Right.
And if the doctors do begin to ask them questions, they're probably not going to have those answers to those questions. And then that could have the doctor's office lose an interest as well, because they can't take it to that second stage of the conversation. They're really just surface level, and it has to stop there because they don't have the answers for anything else.
Yeah. To your point, Brian, now what I do when I call these leads, my first line is, how can I help you? I get right there because I know they're calling me for a reason. Right. I know they're in the quadrant of urgent and important. So I just ask them flat out, and generally that's the case. Well, my biller died. Okay, literally, I had that one. My business is growing, and I need some help here. Okay, I can't do it on my own. So like these are urgent and important things. So I start my conversation. Well, how can I help you?
Right. Yeah. And that's what we try to focus on, helping doctors solve problems. If you're sincere about wanting to solve their problems, things happen organically. I think it's when we focus too much on, trying to be a salesperson or a marketing guru, that things get lost, that personal interaction gets lost. But that's what it is. A lot of doctors too. They want to know that, hey, this is somebody I'm building a relationship with. If I need something, they're my go-to person. If I've got a problem, they'll solve it. So developing those types of relationships, really, really important with the doctors, gaining that trust. And, sometimes, one of the other things we could always do is just look into cleaning up their backlog, the stuff that's sitting on the table unpaid. Hey, let's start there. If we can solve that problem for you, then it makes sense for us to, to take over and fix the other problems that you have. Yeah. So what would you say your biggest, challenge was? I mean, you mentioned in the marketing, was obviously a tough part for you. So, in doing that, if that was your biggest challenge, how did you overcome it? Was it just, consistent practice, just doing it daily, or was there a, special method to the madness?
Let's see. I had to hone my skills. That was part of the solution. Okay. And then I had to change where I was, throwing my money.
Right.
And I ended up throwing the money to a lead generation company. I tried two so far, right? And I'm not saying that one. I didn't change because I thought the other one was bad. I had formed a relationship with this gentleman, and he actually got me my first customer.
Yeah, there you go.
And he did it for free. Okay.
Nice.
So what happened is, as he was trying to get my business, he gave me a list of like 20 old leads. He said, these are old leads, see what you can do with them. If you get something, great, right? Well, as a matter of fact, I did. I got somebody, right? He was just starting his practice. He was my first guy. So, and he kept, making phone calls and things like that, right? And so so I switched, right? I switched because I developed a relationship with the guy. And, the interesting thing is that I've learned, by the way, throughout my career is that relationships will always bring you the highest return on investment. They will always bring you the highest return. So, and that's something to remember with your clients, right? And so what I try to do is I try to, develop a relationship with my clients, right? I try to, to be, more, interested in more than just the billing aspect. How's this going? How's that going? You bring up conversations about the family, and you learn things, right? And once they they reveal something, right, then you know that you have have connected and developed a relationship. I mean, just today, one of my clients, she said, look, I can't wait for you to resolve these denials on this with this carrier because my husband is out of work right now, right? So what I took from that, right, was that she just let her guard down.
Right.
Most people don't want to admit that kind of thing, right? And
Right.
so she let her guard down, right? And so that was important to me because to me that means that I'm going to develop a relationship. And by the way, it's important here because this is not a vendor that you want to change every year. Okay.
Right.
This is a vendor that you want to keep for a long time because the startup, right, is the hardest part, right? You got to, establish your relationships with the insurance companies. Case in point, like my clearinghouse is not communicating properly with, Independence Blue Cross in Pennsylvania. I don't know what the issue is, but that takes time, right? Now, once that's done, it's a one and done, right? It's once I solve that, I'm done. Okay.
Right.
I don't have to do that again. But in the beginning, that startup, right, can be really, painful to both you and the provider.
Yeah. How do you feel as though, like, when getting started with the accounts, how do you feel like having somebody like Sarah Hart that can literally go back through and give you that type of refresher course, on the setup and, creating the account, setting up the systems, testing with the clearinghouse? How do you feel, that helped you? Could you have done it without it? Or do you think that was a necessity to have that second and third stage of training?
That was absolutely a necessity. Okay. Because the second hardest thing about that I found in this profession here is dealing with insurance companies, right? And so I would go to Sarah and I, present her with the problem that I'm up against. And Sarah, sometimes she would have a solution just like that. And I wouldn't even have to fight with the insurance company. Okay.
Right.
So she's totally invaluable. It's like she's been through the forest and she knows how to navigate, right? And we as people who are just starting in this business, don't quite know how to navigate all these things. So it won't take long. I mean, that's not accurate. It could take a while, right? Depending on
It all depends on the person, the time they're putting in, whether they're starting part-time or full-time. Of course, it's going through that, but you felt like that, having that at that stage was necessary. It's not just like we give you that one training at the beginning and then, say, good luck, go get them, Tiger. We're with you, every step of the way as you do it.
No, because the hardest part is not the data processing part.
Right.
The hardest part is navigating through the insurance companies and how to get these claims paid as quickly as possible. Yeah. And that you can't really teach that, in a class. That's like, you have to learn that by experience.
By doing it.
Talking to Sarah, right? Sarah's been she's great. She's great.
Yep. I know she's definitely been one on the shoulder. What's great about that too is, I think one of the reasons a lot of doctors have a lot of issues when they have in-house billers is because those in-house billers, they don't have those types of resources. They don't have a Sarah Hart that they can call and get that second eye on it and say, oh, pinpoint the problem area. Oh, you're missing something on box 19, or you forgot to attach your certificate of medical necessity, or you didn't get the authorization and that's why the claim wasn't, paid. Those types of things. When you can get that type of immediate feedback, like your college professor is helping you to do your job now, as you're out there and employed, it allows you to become more efficient, more effective, and you can gain more value with your clients because you're not spending 3-4 weeks going through the trial and error and back and forth with the insurance companies. You could spend 4 or 5 minutes with Sarah and have an answer and be, done and moving on to the next thing, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
So, Tony, if you could rewind the clock back and let's say that, you went back, 2 years, would you have spent that year in, looking for another job? Would you have, maybe thought about starting a business like this sooner than later?
No, I am so happy I did this. I really am because, I'm my own boss. I mean, if you got prospects who are looking to make an investment, and they were working in a company for a real long time. There's a frustration in working for a company. I mean, you get the stability of the constant paycheck, right? But what you don't get is, as you mature in your career, your judgment is many times better than your boss's judgment, right? Or the president's judgment, right? But that's not the way things are going to get done. So there's a lot of times where you have to sit back and say, yeah, that sounds like a really great idea. You're so intelligent. I can't believe how intelligent you are, and, but that it's not the right thing to do. And so you deal with that, you learn to, get to execute something, right? Despite, the bad direction that you're getting from the top. So now when you have your own business, right, that is gone, right? So, you save a lot of time, right? Because, sometimes a bad decision could cost you 6 months in the business world, right? So, you can react faster now, right? And then you can take a lot of pride in the fact that you're doing it yourself, and I do, I take pride in the fact that now that I got my own business,
Absolutely. Would you say that's probably one of your favorite parts about running your business now is just, being your own boss and in charge of your own, time and feeling that pride is like, hey, this is all because of me. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Excellent. Excellent. So I don't want to keep you too much longer here, Tony. Appreciate all the feedback so much. Just have one more question for you. What do you think people should know before getting into business with ClaimTek or starting their own medical billing company for themselves? Just anything that you might want to share based on your experience or, in the business so far.
Okay. So I think it's important that your skill set and background, align as closely as possible with this, with this investment. Like, for example, I don't have any medical, right? And, learning the industry, learning what doctors, like how doctors think and act and how to deal with insurance companies, right? That is, I can learn that, and my background will allow me to do that. But I had finance, and finance and bookkeeping, right?
Right.
You don't necessarily need accounting skills here, okay? But you do need, bookkeeping, and you do need to be accurate, and you do need to be a detail-oriented person, right? Yeah. Because you're
who's ever going to be doing that work, right? The day-to-day processing should be detail-oriented, right?
Yeah, right. I mean, you're processing so many claims, and they don't all go smooth, right? And if they don't all go smooth, they get into another pile of I got to do some extra work on this one, right?
Right.
It's very easy, right, to let that pile slide if you don't keep, good track of, all your transactions, right? Now, Med Office has, lots of tools, and I use them all the time, to try to, to make sure that I don't lose track, and and I reconcile and I balance everything. So that's important. But here's something the one thing that I would add is this, is that whatever in your own business, whatever made you successful in anything that you've done in your career, right, in the past, is what's going to make you a winner in this initiative here. Like for example, I think I got good management skills. I think that I got good people skills. I think that I got a good sense of finance and how things. So all these things and I use these in my prior life. Mm-hmm. And even though this wasn't medical billing in my prior life, I've taken those skill sets, right? Those things that make Tony Petrella good, right? I've taken those things and I put them into, this medical billing business. And that's ultimately what you're going to do. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Bring those backgrounds, bring those skill sets into this. We've had people from, all different doing different types of stuff that they brought those backgrounds and skill sets into it. And then they even offer some of those things as an added service onto their business to add even some more uniqueness, to their business and to their brand. I've had business owners that did website development before. And so one of the things, they're marketing their billing services, but then they're also saying, hey, Doc, your company website is really, weak. It's watered down. Let us get in there and do that for you because, that can bring in more patients. More patients means more revenue. I've had individuals that, that were a lawyer and they said, hey, if you're using my billing service, you're on retainer with me now. You can call me for certain types of, legal questions and so forth. Accountants that would offer bookkeeping, but also, hey, we'll do your payroll as well. So then they can offer those types of things. So yeah, absolutely. Bringing that background in, to build some uniqueness for yourself inside of this company. Always beneficial.
Okay, great. Yeah. What I forgot to say is that one of the worst questions that I always dreaded in the beginning was like, so how long you been in business, right?
Mm-hmm.
But when you're in business only 3 months, right? It's really hard to get through that one. But what I did learn, right, is that I said, yeah, but I'm backed by a 28-year-old company that's been, that develops the software. They've been in the business for, many, many years. And, they're my constant support. And so I use that all the time, right? As a matter of fact, I put that in my website. So
excellent. Yeah, that's excellent. And that's what we tell, individuals to do. Leverage our experience in the beginning so you don't have to carry the whole weight on your shoulders,
right. So there's the credentialing, right? And the coding, right? Those things, I never say that I don't do them, right?
Right. Like I can, because I know ClaimTek can, and you can always, add that on if it comes to a point that you need it. I greatly appreciate your time, Tony, and it's been my pleasure working with you here over the last year and a half, and it's been great to see what you've been able to develop here, and I know more is to come for you in the future. So we'll keep the team posted here, and maybe we'll touch base again, on another video spotlight in another year or two to show everybody the progress that you've continued.
Cool.
All right. Thanks so much, Tony. We'll talk soon.
Thank you, Brian.
All right.